In every moment of our lives, there exists an invisible force that tugs at our consciousness, shaping our decisions, our actions, and our destiny. This force is power, and though we may not always see it clearly, we feel it in every decision we make, every word we speak, and every action we take. Power is not something that is handed to us on a silver platter. It emerges slowly, quietly, like a whisper in the wind, barely perceptible but undeniably present. In the beginning, we may not even recognize it. It could be as simple as the ability to control a situation, influence a conversation, or even make a small decision that has a ripple effect on others. In these moments, power is like a seed, hidden beneath the surface, its potential waiting to unfold. But power, like the wind, is not something we can always grasp or control. It is elusive, it shifts, it changes, and it grows. It doesn't announce its arrival with a loud bang or an extravagant display. It arrives as a subtle shift in the air, a change in the way we view the world around us. And once we feel it, we can't ignore it. Suddenly we're aware of our own influence, our own ability to shape the course of events in our lives and in the lives of others. But with this awareness comes something else, something far more significant, something that most people overlook: responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility, and it is in this truth that the true essence of power lies. It is not enough to simply have power. We must recognize the weight it carries. Power is not just the ability to act, to make things happen. It is the burden of knowing that every action we take sends ripples through the world around us, affecting not just ourselves, but those who come into contact with us. We are not isolated beings. Every choice, no matter how small, has consequences. And when we are in positions of power, those consequences are magnified. The decisions we make don't just shape our lives. They shape the lives of others, sometimes in ways we cannot fully comprehend. This is where the true challenge lies. When power enters our lives, it can be intoxicating. The ability to control our surroundings, to make choices that affect others, is both exhilarating and frightening. But the temptation to use power for our own benefit, to push others aside, to manipulate situations for our own gain, can be overwhelming. We forget in these moments of temptation that power is not just something we wield for our own benefit. It is something that comes with an inherent responsibility to the world around us, to those who may not have the same privileges, the same opportunities, or the same power. And this is where the great mistake often occurs. We get caught up in the allure of power, in the rush of being able to shape our reality, and we forget that our actions have consequences. Power is a force that must be tempered with wisdom, with humility, and with an understanding of the greater good. If we do not respect the responsibility that comes with power, we risk becoming tyrants in our own lives, imposing our will on others without regard for the impact it may have on them. We lose sight of the bigger picture, and in doing so, we destroy the very things that made power meaningful in the first place. To understand the true nature of power, we must first understand responsibility. Responsibility is not a burden, it is a privilege. It is the opportunity to use our power for good, to make choices that benefit not just ourselves, but the world around us. This is the paradox of power. The more we seek to control, the more we lose control. The more we focus on ourselves, the more we distance ourselves from the very people we seek to influence. Power is not something that exists in isolation. It exists in relationship, in the connections we build with others. When we use power without responsibility, we sever those connections. We become isolated, disconnected, and ultimately, we lose the very thing that makes power meaningful: the ability to serve others, to uplift them, to make their lives better. True power is not about getting more for yourself. It's about knowing when to give, when to step back, and when to let others shine. It's about recognizing that we are all part of a larger story, and that the choices we make today will shape the world we leave behind for future generations. Power is a tool, not a weapon. It is something that can be used to build, to create, to inspire, and to lift others up. But if it is not wielded with responsibility, it becomes a weapon of destruction, a force that tears down rather than builds up. And so, as we journey through life, we must constantly remind ourselves of this truth. Power is a gift, but it is a gift that comes with great responsibility. We cannot take this gift lightly. We must use it wisely, with humility, with empathy, and with the understanding that our actions will ripple out into the world, touching the lives of others in ways we may never fully comprehend. The question is not whether or not we will have power. It is how we will use it. Will we use it to serve ourselves, or will we use it to serve others? Will we allow power to corrupt us, to blind us to the needs of those around us? Or will we recognize it for what it truly is? A responsibility to those who are vulnerable, a call to action that demands we act with wisdom, compassion, and integrity. The wind cannot be seen, but it can be felt. It moves silently, powerfully, shaping the world around us. So too does power move in our lives. It is invisible, but it can be felt in every choice we make, in every life we touch. The question is not whether power exists, but how we choose to use it. Will we use it to build or to destroy, to help or to harm, to empower or to dominate? The answer lies in how we understand responsibility. Responsibility is the wind that guides power, the force that ensures power is used for good, for the greater good. It is the lesson we must learn again and again, in order to wield power not as a weapon, but as a force for positive change. Only when we understand this truth, when we recognize the deep connection between power and responsibility, can we truly live a life of meaning, of purpose, and of lasting impact. The question is not just how you wield power. It is how you wield it with the responsibility it demands. Because in the end, power without responsibility is nothing but an empty echo, a fleeting moment of glory that fades as quickly as it came. Power with responsibility, however, is a force that lasts, a legacy that endures, and a light that shines long after the storm has passed. And so, the story of power and responsibility continues, not just in the grand sweeping moments of history, but in the quiet, everyday choices we make.